Well, hello, friends. So lately I've been getting a lot of requests for soaps specifically geared towards sensitive skin types. And although my main go-to usual recipe is very mild and very skin loving, when I think of a good recipe that is extra skin loving and extra mild, I think about Castile and Bastille recipes. Now, Castile is soap that is made out of 100% olive oil, and Bastille is soap that is made up of at least 70% olive oil. Now, that higher percentage of olive oil is really good for those who have sensitive skin issues and all skin types, really, because olive oil is very mild, it is very gentle, it's a very skin loving oil. So, because of these requests that I've been getting, I thought it would be really fun to make one of my favorite recipes. This is the Buff Away Bastille recipe. And for this recipe, I'm going to be using one of my favorite oatmeal milk and honey fragrance oils. I know that this is a classic, almost every supplier has one, but this one is my favorite. It is Nature's Fragrances Oatmeal Milk and Honey Fragrance Oil. Now, I apologize because last night I actually made my kale and clay slurry with this, so I already put my big bottle of Nature's Fragrance Oatmeal Milk and Honey Fragrance Oil in my recycle bin, but I did pull out my little bottle of it to show you. But this is Nature's Fragrances Oatmeal Milk and Honey Fragrance Oil. It is absolutely wonderful. It is creamy and warm. It's got these incredible notes of almond and honey and oats, and it's perfect for this project. But what is an oatmeal milk and honey cold processed soap without oatmeal, milk, and honey? So we're going to add that in there. For the milk, I'm going to be using coconut milk. For the honey, I'm going to be using honey. And for the oats, I'm going to make some colloidal oatmeal. So making your own colloidal oatmeal at home is actually really easy if you've never done so. You're going to be surprised at how easy this is. So I need to make some now, so I thought it would be cool to show you how I do that. So when you're making colloidal oatmeal, you want to get oats, obviously, but make sure that they're not the instant kind. These are just the straight up, old-fashioned, 100% whole grain oats. So, and you're also going to need something that can grind it up very, very small. This is a very small, like single serving coffee grinder that we found, but if you have like a Cuisinart, that would work fine as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some of my whole oats to my grinder. All right, so get that in my little grinder and get my lid on. Get some power going on this thing and just grind it up. All right, so once you have your oats ground up super, super fine, just get this off, you've got yourself colloidal oatmeal. Just a wonderful, great addition to any cold process recipe. But a little bit of colloidal oatmeal is going to just create some really great properties in this soap. And with the addition of honey and the coconut milk, I think we've got a recipe for a great bar soap. So stick around and let's make some Buff Away Bastille. All right, so we're ready to roll with our Buff Away Bastille recipe. I have got all of my base oils melted down and combined right here. This recipe consists of 70% olive oil, and with the remaining 30%, you can really add any oil or butter that you love and you would want to add to your recipe. For me, with the remaining 30%, 5% of that is castor oil and 25% of it is coconut oil for lather and for a little bit of skin cleansing as well. So there's that. For the additives, I have here the colloidal oatmeal that we made earlier. Usually when it comes to colloidal oatmeal, my go-to standard usage rate is about 1 tablespoon per pound of oils. Now this recipe is a 2-pound recipe. But because it is geared towards sensitive skin types, even the most gentle of exfoliants can be a little harsh sometimes for sensitive skin types. So I have decreased my standard usage rate to 1/2 of a tablespoon per pound of oils, so that this will still give a little bit of gentle exfoliation, but not too much. I've also got my honey here, and I'm using this at a usage rate of 1 tablespoon per pound of oils. I've got my sodium lactate. I'm using that at 3% of my total oil weight. Got my wonderful fragrance oil. This is Nature's Fragrance Oatmeal, Milk, and Honey Fragrance Oil. It has kale and clay down in there. I need to mix it back up. It's settled down at the bottom again. But this is just, I love this OMH. This is I've smelled a lot of OMHs in my day, and this is my favorite. To me, this one is the creamiest. It is the most potent. It behaves beautifully in cold process. The retention is outstanding, and I can pick out every single note. Whereas a lot of oatmeal, milk, and honey fragrances that I've smelled, they're just kind of predominantly almond, and that's kind of the norm for all oatmeal, milk, and honeys. But in this one, the almond is there, the warm, beautiful almond notes, but I do get the oats. I do get a creaminess, like a milky creaminess, and I do get the sweetness from the honey. So I get every aspect of this fragrance that I love in this fragrance oil. It is my favorite OMH. And then right here, I've got my coconut milk. I'm using this at 1 ounce per pound of oil, so I have 2 ounces total here. Now, you can use as little or as much coconut milk as you want in your recipe. You just have to make sure that you are substituting this out from your total liquid weight. So, for example, my total liquid weight in this recipe calls for 9 ounces of liquid. I'm using 2 ounces of coconut milk, so with the remaining 7 ounces, I've used that to make my lye solution. And when it comes to alternative liquids, you can use any kind that you like, including distilled water is absolutely fine. You're still going to get a wonderful bar of soap with whatever liquid that you choose to use or prefer to use. For me, I use a little blend that I have made. I have to actually look up what I put in it, but what this is it is aloe vera juice that I have added some raw cane sugar to, and then I've also infused, my goodness, I really have to remind myself what I put in there. I've also infused into it some ginger root, some blackberry leaf, lemon peel, lemongrass, and linden. That's just something that I prefer to do. But like I said, if you prefer to use just distilled water, you're going to get a wonderful bar of soap out of this as well. So let's get started. Oh, and I thought for this design, it would be really fun to do. I originally was thinking I'll just do like a drop swirl or something like that. But I thought it would actually be fun to do a little layered look with this today. So for my colors, my bottom portion is going to be this beautiful, it's called Bronze Satin Mica from Micas and More. That'll be the bottom. Then in the middle, representing my milk portion, I have got this Champagne Mica from Micas and More, or I'm sorry, Mad Micas. And then for the top, representing my honey portion, I have got Sahara Gold Mica from Nurture Soap. And all of these have been pre-dispersed in a little bit of olive oil. So set these off to the side. I don't need them at the moment. But let's get to soap making. So first things first, we're going to add our lye solution to our oils. Everything is at room temp. So I'm going to go ahead, because there is raw cane sugar in this recipe as well as honey, it is going to get warm. So soaping at room temperature is important for this so that it doesn't get too hot. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add my lye solution to my oils. So I'm just going to stir this to get the lye solution and the oils incorporated. And before I hit this with my stick blender, this is also when I'm going to add my coconut milk and my honey, and I'm going to stir in my colloidal oatmeal, and then my stick blender will take care of blending that in very well. All right, so in with our coconut milk. That's the remaining 2 ounces of our total liquid. Get this stirred in by hand. Next will be our honey. And now I'm slowly going to stir in my colloidal oatmeal. This is going to want to clump up very easily, so just adding a little bit at a time works best for me. And then once it's added in there, then my stick blender will take care of any bigger clumps that might have formed. Just add a little bit at a time, and right. So it looks like everything is stirred in. So I'm going to go ahead and stick blend this until we get it to a light trace. I'm going to burp my stick blender, and we'll get it going. Alright, so I've stick blended till just past emulsion, and as you can see, the batter has turned kind of like a beautiful autumnal orange color, and that's actually the natural sugars in the rock cane sugar that I have in there, and the coconut milk. That is the lye scorching those natural sugars. So it creates that beautiful orange color. It won't actually stick around in the soap. The soap will go back to being white if left uncolored, or that your natural color. But it's really pretty to look at for now. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this split off into 3 eyeballed equal portions. All right, we're looking good. I'm going to go ahead and get my colors mixed in. First one will be the oatmeal portion. So we'll get that bronze satin mica poured into our first portion. The next portion is our milk portion. We'll add in the, if I can get it stirred, champagne mica. And I didn't want like a stark white, so this was a good option for me. It kind of makes more of like a creamy white. And I can feel that this is already getting really warm because of all those natural sugars going on in the recipe. So this isn't something that you would want to see pop because it might get a little too hot. And our last color, the Sahara Gold. And now for our first layer, set these off to the side. And pour in about 1/3 of the fragrance oil. Get that mixed in. Even in a recipe where things are getting hot and setting up, this fragrance oil just works so wonderful. And it's even decelerated trace a little bit for me. And yeah, the soap batter was already beginning to set up just on its own, just from the heat of the natural sugars. So very, very forgiving fragrance oil that just smells so good. All right, so first layer. Let's see if I can get this closer so you guys can see. There we go. Just pour that in there. Okay, so now that this first layer is starting to set up a little bit firmer now, I'm just going to go in with this spoon here, and I'm going to create just a little bit of texture in the layers. Nothing crazy, just a gentle texturing. All right, and this fragrance oil behaves so incredibly well, and the recipe itself being so high in olive oil is going to move a little bit slower too. So I went ahead and I just added the rest of my fragrance oil to my 2 remaining portions. So next now is to get our milk portion or our milk layer poured on top. I'm going to try very carefully not to break through this first layer, so I am going to pour my second layer over my spatula to help break that fall a little bit. So, let's see. See, I usually do it from the other way, and that's the way that blocks you guys from seeing. So, let me see if I can do this a new way. Oh, nope, I can't do it the new way. I just broke through my layer. Okay, well, lesson learned. This is how I usually do it. Well, it's going to make a pretty design. Sometimes the best oopses make for something really pretty. But yeah, I can't. I'm so sorry, you guys. I was trying to do it in a way that you could see how I was pouring it, and I'm just years of pouring my layers like this gets my spatula as close down as possible, and doing it this way, I just old habits. I can't do it. So yeah, broke through that layer. We'll have an interesting design, but not the end of the world. Get this in there. I'm just going to have to train myself how to pour layers from this side and not this side. Okay, and I'm just going to smooth this out. So now we're just going to have like a drop swirl layer effect going on. But it'll be fun to see how that turns out on the inside. Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to work, but I tried my best. Let's get this cleaned up. And again, I'm just going to wait until this sets up just a little bit so that I can add a little bit of texture. And then for my last layer, I'll probably pour it the way I always pour my layers so that I can get at least maybe the last layer right. But right now, as you can see, it's very, very fluid and liquidy still. So as soon as this sets up a little bit more, I'll put in a little bit of texture with my spoon too. Okay, so my milk layer is now setting up nicely, so I'm just going to add in some texture. And then we'll get the last layer, our honey layer. So in order to not screw up my design this time, unfortunately I'm going to pour it the way I've always poured layers, which is going to completely impede how you can see that I do that. So I apologize, but I'm going to get this last layer poured and once again just break the fall over my spatula. And this is breaking through too, actually. It's just very, very thin. And I'm very impatient. So we're just going to see how this unintentional oops turns out, but I'm actually thinking it's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to wait for this to set up a little bit more because I still have a little bit of soap left in this container and I want to just pile it all on top. Alright, so I have gone ahead and just spooned the remainder of my soap batter on top of this loaf here. I'm going to take my little spoon and get some nice texture going on the top, and after that it'll be lightly insulated, and then tomorrow we'll come back for the cut. Now if you're worried that this is going to maybe get too warm for you, you can even pop this in the fridge if you'd like. But for me, I'm just going to lightly insulate it for just overnight. And then we'll be back tomorrow to cut it up and check out how it looks on the inside, my little happy accident of quote unquote layers. So we'll see you guys back tomorrow for the cut. Well, it's the next day and it's time to cut this soap up and see what it's looking like on the inside. Now keep in mind, I did break through or managed to break through every one of my layers. So this did not turn out the way that I had anticipated. In retrospect, I should have absolutely stick blended the layers to a more thicker trace. That would have been very, very helpful. And also should have remembered that this fragrance oil is just very, very, very forgiving. So yeah, let's see what this little wonderful oops looks like on the inside. And also, I wanted to mention that I did go against everything that, usually one would want to avoid. And I did actually go ahead and C-pop this batch. I was just curious to see if I could get it to gel without overheating. So I did C-pop it. I did keep a very close watch on it the whole time. I know anything with natural sugars, they usually say, myself included, don't C-pop something that has a lot of natural sugars in it. It could overheat. But I kept a really close eye on it. It stayed fine, no overheating. So let's see what it looks like on the inside. Today I'm seeing a lot of glycerin dew, and that's normal for Florida, so nothing a good cure won't take care of. So it's time to cut this up and see what it's looking like. And let's pull a piece out and see what we get. Oh yeah, definitely broke through those layers. But you know what? Let me move this out of the way. I actually kind of like that. So here we have our bottom darker portion to represent our oats. We have our middle lighter portion to represent the milk layer and the top to represent our honey. It's beautifully textured on top. It's a little bit glycerin dewy today. It's very humid outside in Florida. Oh, but it smells so good. Here's the other side. So yeah, this turned out to be a beautiful oops. I'm very happy with this. And then of course we have the colloidal oats going through the whole bar, which will add a gentle buffing, which is why the soap is called Buff Away Bastille, but not too much to where it would be bothersome to sensitive skin types. And of course, the Bastille recipe will also be very, very skin loving to all skin types, really. So just a really great outcome with these bars. And the scent, oh, I love this scent. I can smell the almonds and I can smell oats. I smell creamy warmth, sweetness of a little bit of honey. It's absolutely perfect. So I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. It didn't get my perfect layers that I was going for, but I kind of ended up with something that I like a little bit better. So yeah, just embrace your oopses, and anything handmade, made with love, made from the heart is always going to be just so much better than anything that you can find in a store that's been mass manufactured. So yeah, I'm going to get these cleaned up a little bit. Clean up my edges and the bottom here. But other than that, there it is, Buff Away Bastille. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you give this recipe a try, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about it when it cures and you get a chance to use it. I would love to hear your feedback and your experiences with it. And we'll catch you all next time at the next video. But if you'd like to use this incredible fragrance oil in your own soapy creations at home, just go to www.naturesfragrance.com. I'm telling you, they have the best OMH out there. So I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.